everyone, it's Deanna Williston here. I'll be looking today at the Future School, Collaborating with Parents. This was the fourth field-based assessment for my EDU 541 School and Society class, offered in the summer of 2016 with Dr. Clinton Bourne from Franciscan University of Steubenville. I first had to look at how teachers think systematically about their practice and learn from experience. Basically, I'm going to do some research, talk to an educator in the field, reflect on my own teaching experiences, and come up with some teaching goals for myself that might be useful to you as well. Since comprehensive school reform involves change in every aspect of school operations for school governments to classroom instruction, I'm going to be looking for some innovation, some things that are really out of the box for me, and challenge myself with this research. Lastly, my topic I chose was describe the future school, particularly in ways to collaboratively work with parents to engage them productively in the work of the school. How do we get parents to work collaboratively in the work of the school? Standard for proficiency. This is just what my research told me. In general, youth whose parents are involved in their schooling experience better academic outcomes. So that's the why we want parents to be involved. And in case you didn't understand it, teachers plus family equals success for all students. So we really need to focus on this collaboration. The first research I looked at was by Cook, Shepard, Catherine Cook, and Cook in 2012. They studied evidence-based practices, also called EBPs, which are instructional approaches supported by trustworthy bodies of research that meet standards regarding quantity, quality, research design, and effect on student outcomes. This means I'm not looking for advice from another teacher because they think maybe it worked. I'm not just looking for my instincts or what worked last year with little Johnny. This is research that has met certain standards and is known to improve student learning. When we try and use these things, evidence-based practices, there's a danger. The teacher only sees one part of the student and the parent might see something completely different. This is why we need collaboration. When we work together, we can put all the pieces together, and then we can see the whole child. Once we're looking at the whole child, we can work with them. To start with, a teacher might do research and come up with an evidence-based practice they think will work for a student. But you can't just apply them randomly. You need to consider the parent's home culture. Is this evidence-based practice going to offend the parent in some way? We need to take that into consideration and be careful when we choose our EBPs. The handout is going to need to consider the parent's native language, which could be a foreign language but might just be a dialect from a different area. We need to be respectful and make sure that the parents understand what we're saying, otherwise we're just wasting our time making this handout. Lastly, consider the experience. Depending on the experience of the parent, we might write this handout differently. We want to make sure we speak to the parent's strengths and give information if the parent has a certain weakness. So we need to make sure we're communicating effectively with parents when we send out this handout, because the next step is going to be to meet with the parents. We're then going to discuss whether the student matches the research sample. Remember our puzzle piece graphic? If I, the teacher, only have a partial view of the student, I might not pick the best EBP. I need the parents' input as well to make sure we're correctly matching the student to the students who were in the research. Then we can predict the best outcome for our student. Next, we need to look at how can it be applied at school and at home. Because remember, we're looking at the whole child. The child exists in both spheres and will need to work with a different series of adults in different locations. So we need to figure out how it's going to be applied in the different places. Once we come up with that, we need to empower the parents. They can go ahead and research on their own. A great way for parents of students with disabilities is go to the Parent Center Hub. It's a federally funded research site, and it will help them figure these out, and then they can do the legwork and possibly bring you some ideas on what might work. Now, if a student doesn't have a disability, make sure that you still link them up with a librarian or media specialist that can help them find these resources. The second research I looked at was by Reese, Stott, and Ogle in 2013. It was called the Neighboring Project. It's a very interesting community building project that got parents into the schools who hadn't previously been in there. They first personally invited the community, and they held roundtables to determine needs and wants. This graphic is no joke. They went door to door, knocking on housing project doors. If parents weren't home, they left them notes and a small gift. It really let the parents know that the teachers truly cared about the students and the parents, that they really wanted the parents there. It was a great way to start. And then they held roundtables to figure out what the parents needed and what they wanted to enable them into the classroom. If you're thinking, I can't go knocking door to door, what about this? They had tents at community events like firemen's carnivals and things. And they decorated it with balloons, so it was kind of approachable and caught attention. And then there were teachers manning the booth, and they gave away free school supplies for the kids, and they also had some fun things for moms and dads there. Once they got the conversation started, they could personally invite the people to the neighboring project and again start discussing what the needs and wants were of the community. They empowered the education of students by giving the citizens social capital. Really fancy way of saying the parents picked the curriculum. Okay, your school has a volunteer training day, but you notice certain parents aren't showing up. Maybe they're really shy and intimidated to come into a large group setting like that with a lot of strangers. They might just need more one-on-one time. So one of the things they did was they took this small group from the community on their own tour of the school. They got their own training on the machines. They picked things like how to dress for a job interview. They had guest speakers come in. They learned about community resources. Again, the citizens picked the topics, not the teachers, not the resources. The citizens picked the topics, and the researchers and teachers found the resources and guest speakers for them. Once the parents weren't comfortable in the school, they figured out what their expertise was, what times they were available, and how to best use their talents to help the kids. They also received some small giveaways. Don't forget, these are parents who haven't volunteered before. Make sure you're showing them that you appreciate them. It could be a small little certificate, a giveaway. The researchers also gave them points for a neighboring store where they could get cleaning supplies, things they needed, as well as a few little nice gifts for things they wanted, as well as they received credit from the housing authority for their volunteer time. Shared teaching and leadership strategies and built a needs-based collaboration. So the participants weren't ready. They weren't done with this project when the research ended. So the researchers went ahead and they set up a leadership training for a select few from the group that really wanted to keep the training going. One of the key things they taught them was how to use journals to keep notes on what worked, what didn't work, how their feelings evolved over time, because they're going to need to remember what that brand new parent that they're cold calling, what that parent felt like. So they kept these journals to record all this so they could go back in time and reflect on them. They also started to attend PTA and PTO meetings and residents association meetings. So the leadership team from the community, again, they got involved more deeply and broadly in their own community. And once they were there, they were solid, they knew what they were doing, and they were ready, they started to invite new parents to the group, and they became the leaders. So the project continued on. It's a great self-sustaining project. Then Niles and Marcello left in 2010, my last research that I looked at, which was on needs-based negotiation. You can see all the people they used in this citation. Teacher-parent collaboration as currently practiced emerges as complicated, unproductive, and replete with interpersonal conflict. It's not easy. We sometimes feel like we come from different worlds. We need to figure out a way to work together. Step 1, acknowledge we have obstacles. Teachers view parents as outsiders instead of partners. We all know this happens. You're working so hard and you're so focused on what you're doing in the classroom. You're like, why aren't those parents helping me from home? Why are they undercutting? The parents don't mean to do that. If you're viewing parents as part of the problem, you're not seeing them as part of the solution. We need to rethink our mindset. The lack of professional development on collaborating with parents leaves teachers unsure how to proceed. When I read this research, I went and started asking all the teachers I knew when they last had professional development on collaborating with parents. Not one of them remembered ever being trained on how to work with parents. That is inexcusable. We need to do a better job there. In the current climate of testing, there is mutual lack of respect and trust. We all know this testing is high stakes, high pressure. Teachers are under the gun. They're low on time. And we've started judging each other. We need to step back from that. We need to be able to work together. Lastly, of course, with so little time and understanding, parents and teachers end up reacting defensively. And if we're reacting defensively, we're not acting proactively for our students. We need to take a breather. Needs-based negotiation is one way to do that. Leave your feelings, emotions, and judgments at the door. We're not even talking about what we want in an ideal world. We are looking at a particular student. We are identifying their needs. And then we try and get into the mindset of the parent. If you've conducted beginning of the year surveys or met with parents on parent-teacher night or one of those information booths like the one group talked about, you might already know what the parent sees as needs for their student. So then you invite the parent in, you've done your background work, you think you've identified needs, both from the parent's perspective and from your own, invite the parent in, and now you're collaborating on writing a third story. You're combining what you each see, each of your puzzle pieces, you're putting them together to try and see the whole child, what that child needs in all aspects. And then you're going to problem solve. Don't take step 3 lightly, because look at step 4. We're creating alternatives. Don't just come up with a plan A. We all know plan A falls through way too often, right? So let's not keep wasting our time calling parents back in and reinventing the wheel. Let's come up with a plan B, C, and D while parents are still there. Let's collaborate together and make a series, a continuum of alternatives that we can go to when something happens. My field educator, Alex Reinhardt, has worked in such a variety of schools. You're going to hear a little bit of that in the interview. He's just wonderful. He really believes in the neighborhood school, in the building of community around a school. So take a listen to this. And you talked about the sense of community in neighborhood schools where people stayed afterwards and all. So just what do you feel that community looked like when you had that?
It was just it was just kind of natural community stuff. If someone had certain resources or a knowledge base, they could come in. And that was great, in a college town, because a lot of the students had professors as parents that could come in and speak to a topic, or, be a judge for a, science fair type thing, or for like a mock debate, to be an authority figure that's kind of seems more official than something set up just within the class.
Right.
And usually they're invested. I found in the community schools they're more invested in doing that kind of thing.
Would you do anything differently if you were in a new neighborhood school?
I would try to understand the neighborhood. That's what I'm planning on doing when I move is, get to know, get more and understand the community and its history and demographics. Because then I can even go out in the community and be involved. But that's hard when the community is sort of scattered all over a large metropolitan area.
Right. This group, what they did differently, they went door to door to the parent and personally invited them. And the parent said that's what's made the huge difference. Have you ever done something that personal?
With refugee community city schools I have, where I would go to people's houses, sometimes sort of cold knock on the door, just trying to find someone in the community who was bilingual enough and could help me try to make some resources to help the ESL teachers with this refugee population. And that was very fulfilling and definitely showed commitment on my part that they were much more willing to donate their time.
Right.
The most important thing is that the parent know you care, genuinely. And if you do that legwork, that does pay off quite a bit.
Wise words from Alex. If the parents know you care, it goes a long way. So I reflected on the research and Alex's insights on getting to know your community and making sure parents know that you care. And I came up with some teaching goals. The first one is reaching out to parents. The importance of that is just so huge. And not just reaching out saying hi in the hallway. Make sure you talk to them. Don't be embarrassed if you see them in the store and you're buying something goofy. Stop and talk to them. When parents come in to volunteer, make sure that you thank them. You're including them as a partner and treat them as a partner and as an equal. And I think you will reap the benefits for many years and your students for a lifetime. Reach out to empower the community. You have tons of citizens out there with time, talent, and you just need to tap into that. As well as they might be intimidated, they might not feel invited. So don't just invite the parents. Make sure you're inviting citizens. And if there's some obstacle in their way, find out what it is and get rid of it. If there are parents who aren't volunteering, or community members that you know would love to volunteer or that have such amazing skill set. Find out why they're not coming in and then get rid of that obstacle. Just help them. And yeah, it's a little bit of effort, but I think you're going to see the benefits, and your students definitely will. Lastly, crafting the third story when needed. Remember, sometimes we've had a bad day. We're emotional. We can do it. We all fall into the trap. But remember to stop, push those emotions and judgments aside. Just take your observations on what the students need, craft them together with the parents to create a third story so that we can just see what that child needs, the whole child needs, and we can find resources and help that child. They will thank you for the rest of their lives. It's a skill set that we have not been given as teachers, but we could really benefit from. So learn these skills, share what works and what doesn't work with other teachers. Make sure you get your team on board with this. It's what the future schools should have, working collaboratively with parents. I hope you have enjoyed this session. I've enjoyed it so much, and I know I've learned so much through the research, talking with Alex and just reflecting on what I've learned. I truly hope you come up with some great ideas. Please share them in the comments below if you do. We'd love to hear more from you. If you've got ideas for another podcast, shoot it out there. And I thank you again for learning with me.